No other song have I but that of Jesus, the Son of God, who came to seek and save, who paid the price for pardon and redemption, when on the cross his life he freely gave. No other song have I but that of Jesus, the Son of God, who came to seek and save, who paid the price for pardon and redemption, when on the cross his life he freely gave. No other song have I but that of Jesus, no other theme but Christ and Calvary. In every verse and refrain I would be telling the wonders of his mighty love for me. No other song have I but that of Jesus, no other theme but Christ and Calvary. In every verse, refrain I would be telling the wonders of his mighty love for me. Welcome to this beautiful Sunday service. We thank God for the opportunity just to come and share forth the word of God. And I pray the Lord will bless you as you join us this particular Sunday morning. And today our theme is a beautiful one, being Jesus to the world, touching the least of these, touching the hearts of the least of these. And I'm going to read from Mark, the Gospel according to St. Mark chapter 5. It's a beautiful long reading, so please walk with me. It's a beautiful long reading, but it's a story that actually will give us a series that we will be able to pick up on. But today we're just beginning right here from verse 1. It's all the way up to verse 43, but we're going to pick some of the specific verses that we're going to read as we go. So please journey with me. Let's start. So they arrived on the other side of the lake, in the region called Gerasene. When Jesus climbed out of a boat, a man possessed by an evil spirit came out from the tomb to meet him. This man lived among the burial caves and could no longer be restrained, even with a chain. Whenever they put a chain or shackles around him, as he often was, he snapped the chains from his wrist and smashed the shackles. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Day and night he wandered among the burial caves and in the hills, howling and cutting himself with sharp stones. When Jesus was still some distance away, the man saw him and ran to meet him, and bowed down low before him. With a shriek and a scream, he said, "Why are you interfering with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In the name of God, I beg you, do not torture me." For Jesus had already said to the spirit, "Come out of this man, you evil spirit." And Jesus demanded, "What is your name?" And he replied, "My name is Legion, because there are many of us inside this man." Then the evil spirit begged him again and again not to send them to some distant place. There happened to be a large herd of pigs feeding in the hillside nearby. "Send us to those pigs," the spirits begged. "Let us enter into them." Then Jesus gave them permission. The evil spirits came out of the man and entered the pigs, and the entire herd of about 2,000 pigs plunged down the steep hills into the lake and drowned in the water. The herdsmen fled to the nearby town and surrounding countryside, spreading the news as they ran. People rushed out to see what had happened. A crowd soon gathered around Jesus, and they saw the man who had been possessed by the legions of demons. He was sitting there, fully clothed and perfectly sane, and they were all afraid. Then those who had seen what had happened told the others about the demon-possessed man and the pigs, and the crowd began to plead with Jesus to go away and leave them alone. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him, but Jesus said, "No, go home to your family and tell them everything the Lord has done for you, how merciful he has been." So the man started off to visit the 10 towns or the Decapolis of the region and began to proclaim the great things Jesus has done for him. And everyone was amazed at what he told them. Jesus got into the boat again and went on to the other side of the lake, where there was a large crowd gathered around him on the shore. When the leader of the local synagogue, whose name was Jairus, arrived, when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet, pleading fervently with him. "My little daughter is dying," he said. "Please come and lay your hands on her and heal her so that she can live." Jesus went with him, and all the people followed, crowding around him. A woman in the crowd had suffered for 12 years with constant bleeding. She had suffered a great deal with many doctors, and over the years she had spent everything she had had to pay them. But she had gotten no better. In fact, she had gotten worse. She had heard about Jesus, so she came up behind him through the crowds and touched his robes. For she had said to herself, "If I can just touch his robe, I will be healed." Immediately the bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she had been healed of her terrible condition. Jesus realized at once that the healing power had gone out of him, so he turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who has touched my robe?" The disciples said to him, "Look at this crowd pressing around you. How can you ask, 'Who touched me?'" But he kept on looking around to see who had done it. Then the frightened woman, trembling at the realization of what had happened to her, came and fell at his knees in front of him and told him what she had done. And Jesus said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Your suffering is over." While he was still speaking, the messengers arrived from the home of Jairus, the leader of the synagogue. They told him, "Your daughter is dead. There is no use troubling the teacher now." But Jesus overheard them and said to Jairus, "Don't be afraid, just have faith." Some versions say, "Don't be afraid, just believe." Then Jesus stopped the crowd and wouldn't let anyone go with him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they came to the home of the synagogue leader, Jesus saw how much commotion and weeping and wailing was happening. He went inside and asked, "Why all this commotion and weeping? The child isn't dead, she's only asleep." The crowd laughed at him, but he made them all leave. And he took the girl's father and mother and his 3 disciples into the room where the girl was lying. Holding her hand, he said to her, "Talitha kum," which means, "Little girl, get up," or arise. And the girl, who was 12 years old, immediately stood up and walked around. They were overwhelmed and totally amazed. Jesus gave them strict orders not to tell anyone what had happened. Then he told them to give them something to eat. The story of this encounter that Jesus went through is an amazing. This is one of the longest chapters in the book of Mark. Mark is known to be very brief and straight to the point. He is one guy who would write just what Jesus said, what Jesus did, and Jesus did this, and Jesus did. So actually Mark is usually considered the gospel for the busy people. People who are in a hurry, you can read the story, don't go into the details, just know the facts. But now this is one that Mark actually describes 3 different incidents in one chapter. These would have been 3 chapters and they would have still been fine. But all these verses describe 3 incidents that are important for us. Now, I want us to understand that as I will be doing a bit of exposition of these particular verses, they will be giving us an opportunity into an insight into the reason why Jesus came. In fact, Jesus is dealing with 3 different scenarios of lives and 3 different challenges that human beings face, 3 different encounters that each and every one of us go through. And it's important that we understand that. And the more we understand that, the more we'll realize that there is no situation too hard for God to be able to deal with. But let's start at the beginning just as a way of introducing that, to begin with, my brothers and sisters, the story of the man that is demon possessed is an amazing story. Why is it an amazing story? This is a guy who was demon possessed not by one but by a legion. A legion, the Roman legion was a battalion of soldiers that ranged between 6,000 and 12,000. That would be one legion. So when this demon identifies himself or itself as a legion, we are assuming they could have been more than 6,000, maybe around 12,000. But we also know that there were many, one, because it said so, but the second one is that there were 2,000 pigs that they entered into and the pigs drowned, which basically tells us that there were many. Now, these were all inside one particular person, which means that a physical human body can accommodate more spiritual beings, more than just one. It's important we understand that. But the story of this guy is even more exciting. But I want to do the summary of the three, and then I will pick up one today. Now, so that deals with a spiritual issue, where we have a spiritual case that needs a spiritual solution. Spiritual problems need spiritual solutions. This world is desperately needing a spiritual solution. People will tell me, oh, it's a psychological. No, a psychological problem is a psychological problem. A spiritual problem, a spiritual anger, hunger, and thirst needs a spiritual solution. I see a lot of young people desperately looking for solutions to spiritual problems, but they are offering bad solutions. They are taking alcohol and getting into relationships and getting into problems with things, while actually desperately it is an inside spiritual hunger that needs to be spiritually met. Now the second one is the woman. The woman's story is in between. Interestingly, in between an episode of Jesus going to Jairus' home. Jairus has been told, Jairus has come and seen Jesus and told the Lord, Lord, my daughter is dying, please come and heal her. And as Jesus begins to walk, then the woman's story is like an interlude, is an interruption, is like a bridge between the conversation. Jairus seems to be the most important one here, but then there is this woman. Why this woman? The woman's name is not even mentioned. The woman tells her story of how she had suffered to Jesus. Jesus stopped the whole crowd to listen to her story, but nobody remembers her name. But you know what? Hers was a physical, not just a physical problem, but it also a cultural problem. Now, why is it a cultural problem? Because bleeding for a woman, and in this particular case, was a cultural problem. The Bible considered them unclean. The Bible never expected them to walk around and live amongst people comfortably and normally. She was not allowed to walk around because she was unclean. She was not allowed to sleep in the same bed even with her husband because she was unclean. In fact, if you've had the opportunity to be in Israel, even in hotels, what would be they don't have one single bed in every room. There would be two beds. There will always be two beds. It doesn't matter whether you're a couple, there will always be two beds. Why? Because they believe that there's a time, a moment, a place, when someone would require a separate bed, and they would not want to be in a compromised situation where there was only one bed in the room. So the woman was dealing with a cultural problem. The cultural problem was this, that she had dealt with. In fact, it is cultural, it's social, it is economic. She had spent every single money in her life to try and solve her problem. They were not. Which basically then gives us an answer that the Lord our God is able not only to solve a spiritual problem, but is also able to solve a socio-economic problem. This woman had spent every coin. Instead of getting better, she was getting worse. That is what a lot of people sometimes go through. You've gone to the hospital and nothing has happened. You've seen doctors and nothing has happened. You've seen magicians and nothing has happened. You've tried everything and nothing has happened. Now, while you are going through that, culturally you've been rejected. You've been seen to be negative. You've been excluded. You don't belong. And therefore, you find yourself away. Listen to how Jesus deals with it. Jesus says, my daughter, your problems are over. Go back home. In other words, you're back. You're one of us again. You belong now. Now, the third story is Jairus. Jairus' daughter is sick. She is dying. We're not told what was killing her, but they know she is dying. Jairus himself takes the initiative, a good man. takes the initiative. He's a leader of the synagogue. He's a senior person in the community. Remember that the synagogue was the center of worship. And so by seeing this man and knowing him by name, that's why they call him. They don't call the girl's name. They don't know the girl's name, but they know. Writers know the name of the leader of the synagogue. Now here is a father who says, I'm going to look for the doctor myself. And he went to look for Jesus, said, please, my daughter's dying. Come over and sort me out. A good father takes responsibility. A good father is a man who is in charge. And he says, come. And as he's waiting, the story gets longer because the woman has to tell her story. And I'm trying to imagine the woman telling her story. She didn't start with, imagine I have been bleeding for 12 years, tried, spent my money, nothing's happened, and here I am attached to you, and I am over. No, I'm very sure in the culture and the way the ladies would say, they said, you have no idea where I've come from. Let me just tell you, when I was a kid, I'm sure she began with way back. When she was a kid, how she grew up, maybe she was raised up well and all that. And then one day things just happened and maybe it never stopped. And then I tried. I'm sure she could have even said how she's been rejected by people, how she's been looked down upon by other women, and how she has to carry spare clothes whenever she's traveling, or she can't go to places, she can't go to parties, she can't do things. And she went into all that drama. I almost believe that was the story. So the thing took a little longer. Then the news comes from Jairus' home. Don't trouble the teacher anymore. Your daughter is dead. Brothers and sisters, that is not good news. I suspect that the commotion where Jairus was could have raised Jesus' suspicion. They called Jairus aside and said, excuse me, got bad news, boss. The little girl is no more. It's gone south. It's gone west. Sorry. I think to avoid the whole crowd coming home, there is already a crowd already the other side. Please just don't tell him not to come. It's okay. The burial will take place maybe tomorrow, the day after, but don't tell him. Let him not come. But in the conversation, the Bible says Jesus overheard. But the question is it that Jesus did not know? Or is it that Jesus did not perceive there could have been a potential of death? Is it that Jesus was not aware that it is possible the child could have died? Of course he knew. But he had to tell Jairus something. What does he tell Jairus? Don't be afraid, son. Just believe. Have faith it will happen. That's why I'm here, Jairus. That's why I am here. And so, Jesus goes. When he arrives, everybody laughed at him when he said, the girl ain't dead. She's just asleep. Like, yeah, you're right. We've been here, we've seen. We know dead people. We know when they're dead, they're dead. Dead, kaput, gone, Yeah, so please, don't tell us that. You could have been healing sick fellows, but this one is dead. It's a gone case. You can't handle it. He said, okay, get out. We don't need faithless people. Jesus chased them out and then says, let's go. Jairus and the wife and the 3 disciples, they walk in. So how many people were inside there? There were 6. And the girl was the 7th person. And number 7 is crucial. What does Jesus do? Jesus does not come in and say abracadabra stuff. No, he just held the hands of the girl and said, little girl, arise. Little girl, arise. Talitha kum, please wake up. It's time to get back to your parents. The Bible says the girl rose up, sat down, and walked around. I'm sure like a 12-year-old, she ran around the house excited. It's like, yeah, Mom, Daddy, I'm fine now. I'm feeling good. Mom, I'm okay now. He said, please give us something to eat. In other words, life continues. Brothers and sisters, you might be asking, why is John Mark retelling the story? It's because I needed you to understand where we're coming from. The first one was a spiritual situation. The second one was a religious, a socio-cultural, and financial situation, economic situation. The third one was a physical situation, very emotional, but it is also religious. So let's come back to the story of the man. Why is the story of this man important? It gives us a hint into the spiritual realm. that it is possible that a normal human being can be possessed by demons, legions of demons, thousands of demons. It is possible. Now, if you tell me you don't believe in demon possession, that's your problem, and it's okay. You can do whatever you want. If you tell me you don't believe, it's all right. I also don't believe a lot of things, but I'm not telling you. So that's okay. Listen, this guy is in a situation really bad. But then something interesting, that demonic presence in his life made him supernaturally powerful. He could break chains and break iron bars and iron fetters around him, shackles tied around him. He would break them, he just snap them and they disappear. Number two, this man did not live in homes like everybody else. He lives among the tombs and the caves where people were buried. A lot of people say that spiritual beings hang around tombs and caves and cemeteries. This is where the man dwells. Now, if you ever go to Israel, you will see cemeteries of people, but then you'll also hear the stories of how they bury people today. It's an amazing experience just to see graveyards and graves and graves and cemeteries, and you're reminded the relatives are here. That is fine. But this man lived amongst this. And he would howl and scream and cut himself with stones, bleeding. It's amazing he never died. But it tells you how desperate and how depraved human lives can be when things don't seem to work. It tells you how depraved human life can be when we are in the hands of an enemy, when they possess us. Demon possessed, lost his dignity, lost his pride, lost the opportunity to be in his rightful mind. He could not think for himself. No, he couldn't. So he was in a situation that people would actually call depraved. Desperately needing help, but not being able to be helped. Nobody could chain him, but all they could do was try to chain him. So they left him to wander in the tombs. And then Jesus showed up. When the Lord appeared, several things begin to happen, brothers and sisters. Number one, the Bible says the man saw Jesus from a distance. No, he didn't see him close. In other words, the demons noticed that there is a man that is different that is coming. And they know him because they've known him from the beginning. He was there with them in heaven when there were still angelic beings. And so they know him. And they said, this is Jesus, the Son of the Most High God. Please, what do you have to do with us? You've come to torment us? You've come to... It means demons believe in torment. They know and they feel pain. It means that they actually know that a moment is coming. Some versions actually say, have you come to torment us before the time? Which means they know there is coming a time when torment will come. They begged him, please, don't get us out of here, which could tell us that they had a territory, that an area within, a jurisdiction within which to operate. And you know, the devil is so smart enough that he has mapped the whole world, and there are demons for a specific area, you know, just like the angelic beings for specific areas. They are angelic beings for specific places. They are angelic beings responsible for certain things. They are those that are responsible for children. We know that the Bible talks about the angels of the children watching over them, and there are those that are territorial, responsible for nations, and there are those that are responsible for rivers and earthquakes and all these things. And I mean, the devil knows and took up that from God's operation. So this one is saying, don't get us out of here, because if we go into another place, we will not find a place. But two, we will be beaten for having left our place. So please, just don't send us out. Then they realized, watching and seeing, inside this person, they can see the spiritual, the physical realm. So they saw the pigs and said, please send us to the pigs instead, please. What does that mean? A powerful person begging? It then means the person they must be begging from must be more powerful. Because that's what Jesus said, that you cannot go into a strong man's house unless you're stronger. So Jesus gave them permission. I love that. He gave them permission to go into the pigs. But the question is this: what were Jewish people doing herding pigs? Because eating pigs was forbidden. It just tells you that the world we live in is messed up. What you're told to do, you don't do. Maybe that's why in our liturgy, the Anglican liturgy, we pray. We have done what we ought not to have done, and we have not done what we ought to have done. These guys were keeping pigs and they were not supposed to be keeping pigs. They were eating pork, they were not supposed to be eating pork. Just remember the story of the prodigal son. Where was he feeding? He was feeding from a pigsty. In other words, the world desperately needs a spiritual solution to spiritual problems that impact and affect the physical world. When they got into the pigs got agitated. Rain in the hillside, landed in the lake and drowned. I don't know whether you'd blame Jesus or you blame the demons or you blame the pig owners or you blame the man who was demon possessed. But who would you blame for the death of the pigs? Of course, the people blamed Jesus for the death of the pigs. That is why these guys later started telling him, please leave us alone. Leave us alone. Just go. We are comfortable with demon-possessed people. We are fine with pigs in our neighborhood. We are fine with life the way it was. You came in here and changed the status quo. Just leave us alone. And I'm asking myself, if I were these guys, maybe I would have said, stay around. The demons might come back. Stay around. We need to be delivered. We need to be protected. Stay. Don't go, Lord. Don't go. But because we love darkness and things that are wrong, we tend to prefer to be comfortable the way we are. So please don't leave us. I mean, don't stay here. Just go. Just go. Just go, Lord. But you know what, friends? Even though they may have never wanted Jesus, just for that one person he came. And for that one person he passed through that side of town. For that one person, he was willing to lay down his life on the old rugged cross. For that one person, he was willing to say, here I am. Here I am. I have come that you might have life and have it abundantly. And it doesn't matter how bad your situation could be, just for you alone, he would be willing to come down and move mountains. Get rid of a legion of demons to save you, protect you, and secure you. And you know what, friends? Just for that one man, Jesus came that side of town. Because after that they said, please leave. And he left. But listen, Jesus tells the man, when the man says, I'm coming with you. I think you're safe. You're fine. I can trust you with my life, my future, my hopes, my dreams. I can trust you with my family. Lord, I'm not leaving you. He said, no, I've sorted out. I've dealt with you. I've done what I came to do. So it's your turn. It's your turn. And you see, that's what Christians forget. That is our turn now that we have known him, now that we have dealt with him, now that he's set us free, now that he's been merciful to us, now that he's been gracious. It's our turn now. And what's our turn? To tell the story. This is what this man did. The first evangelist we know. The other one was a woman, the Samaritan woman. Now this is a guy who's been deranged, messed up, went through the 10 cities to tell them about the mercies of God and how God had. And the Bible says the people were amazed at his story. They knew him. They knew his story. They knew the chains he'd broken. Some could be saying, I think now you need to pay me back my chain. You know what? That is why Jesus came. That is why he loves. That he may set us free from the pain and the power of the chains and the things that the demonic forces try to do in our lives. When human beings tie chains around us, he wants to break them. When demons try to hold us captive, he wants to set us free. So it's not just a matter of him coming to do it for the world and forgetting me. No. He wants you to be right there. He wants you to feel the joy and the comfort. He wants you to know, to be excited. He wants you to celebrate his faithfulness. He wants you to be able to have your life back and be able to say, yes, this is my real me. That is what that man was. The Bible says he was seated there, normal, fully dressed. And he was no longer insane. He was now okay, sorted out by a loving Savior. And that's what the Lord wants to do. He cast out demons out of this man, and with that, he removed fear, shame, and brought in grace and peace. He brought in joy, and then he tells the man, go back to your family. What exactly is he saying? Social integration. You need to work with people who share the same faith, same values, same principles, same things that make your life worth it. Go back and tell them. Go back and tell them. And you see, my friend, and I want to finish with just this because I said this is going to be a series. So next week, I'm picking up on the story of the woman and the girl. But I just want to narrow in down about the story of this demon-possessed man who's been set free. We may never know his name, but maybe I was just thinking about it and saying maybe the disciples did not write his name because people would have been looking for him. Maybe because they wanted us to focus on the one who did the deliverance instead of the one who was delivered. They wanted us to focus on the Jesus who did the miracle instead of the one who received the miracle. And that's why maybe they never mentioned his name. But we don't see the name of the man, we don't see the name of the woman, we don't remember the name of we don't see the name of the girl. Why? Because they needed us to focus on the one who did the miracle instead of the one to whom the miracle was done. Friends, you may be asking and struggling with, is my life worth it? Is it worth the struggle? Am I struggling with a spiritual thing? Am I dealing with a physical issue? Am I dealing with a social, cultural, religious, and economic issue? This chapter alone tells us that God is able to sort out that and sort it out permanently. We know He can. So what are we being called to? If we are going to be the Jesus in the world today, be the Jesus that the world desperately needs, we need to reach out with love and touch people's lives. Jesus knew that once He's gone, we will still meet the many people like this man. So He said, in my name you'll cast out demons, you heal the sick, raise the dead. So we become the Jesus the world desperately needs. Touching the least of this, give them a helping hand, making them realize it is possible. It is possible to walk with God. So friends, question is, what can you do? You might be a believer. You love the Lord so much with all your heart. You need to see the need. See the need in people's lives. Identify it. Is it spiritual? Is it financial, economic? What can you do? You can reach out with love and touch their lives. What can you do? We can. Pray with them. Hold their hand. Encourage them to be stronger. Hold their hand. Touch their lives. That will make you. They will be able to remember, encounter they had with Jesus who lives in you. The demons left the man and the man was fine. You too can touch someone and leave an impact in their lives that they will be fine. I want to finish with just this beautiful, beautiful story. Maybe some of you have heard it, but I will still repeat it anyway. And this is the story of an American artist. He was a poet, loved drama. He would dramatize his theatrics that on the stage he would, whenever he would be reciting. Today people talk about spoken word. In those days we talked about poetry. And as a poet, the spoken word artist, you may call him so, he would dramatize his messages so on this particular day he was in LA, full. The stadium is full, but everybody's excited. The greatest poet just coming in to do his thing. And the man stood, and for 1.5 hours recited a poem and made a whole beautiful show of his professionalism. And then when he finally finished, he said, I want to do my climax. This is my showstopper. And he began, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. And he dramatized every line. And as he went on, he kept on dramatizing every line. And everybody was like, wow. When he finished, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, my life, my life. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. And there was a standing ovation, and people clapped and people shouted and said, man, you're the greatest, you're the best, you're awesome. You are the one. And he bowed. But as he raised his head up, an old man walked to the stage and said, sir, you're great, but can I also say the same poem? And the guy said, but old man, listen, you don't know the poem. He said, I know the poem. Yes, please just allow me. He said, no, but you're not a professional. You don't have the drama. You don't have the theatrics. You're too old. You can't handle this. You're stealing my moment. He said, no, please just allow me, son, to do the same. Said, fine. Picked the microphone, looked at the crowd and said, hey guys, before I leave, there's an old man here who says he wants to say the same poem. I'll allow him to tell us what he's got to say. And the old man looked at the crowd, one hand holding a walking stick, the other one holding a microphone, and he began. The Lord, he's been my shepherd. 86 years I've walked with him. 86 years he's led me through the valleys and the shadow of death. I've seen death left, right, and center. And he went on, and as he described the Lord being the shepherd, and how through the valley of the shadow of death, and how in times of hardness and pain and all these things, he's he led me through quiet waters. And again, finally he said, and now I'm an old man, 86 years old. But I made a covenant to him, and he made a covenant to me that I will dwell in his house all the days of my life. Every single day I've seen goodness and mercy follow me. Pain has come too, but goodness has superseded it. And then the old man finished and said, and I promise that I will dwell in his house all the days of my life. And when the man finished, he gave the microphone to that guy, and everybody was silent, quiet, total